Hello and welcome. I'm Peggy, and I'm so glad you joined us today. I have a special person here. Donna Hopkins is here, and Donna is a master gardener. And so we're going to talk about fall plants,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
it looks like we really planned this. We both showed up in green, and we didn't know. It just happened.
It just happened.
So we're
That's
all
right.
ready for fall.
I have a friend who would call that a happy stance.
Good. Okay.
So that's right. Okay.
That's so pretty.
That is pretty. And we can talk about that first, or
Whatever.
we can play in the soil first.
You want to play in the soil?
Oh, let's do
Okay,
that.
let's do that.
And I want you to know I brought my reddest gloves for you today. After I
good
got here, I
gardeners-
thought, well,
But good gardeners don't worry about that.
no, but when they get to where they're not keeping out things, they're letting it in. Okay, what we're going to do today, and I'm going to slide that over there
Okay.
for just a minute and bring these over so that I will be able to reach them. Oh, and I'm just making a mess.
Well, that's okay.
And you know, when it goes in a pot and something grows in it, it's soil. When I smear it all over the tablecloth, it's a mess. So now I'm going to bring this back.
All right.
What we're going to do a container for fall, late fall, winter. So, I'm going to talk while I'm
All
messing
right.
in the dirt here. First of all, you use potting soil. Don't ever use garden soil in your containers. The plants will grow. Your container will just weigh about 1,500 pounds because the
Oh.
soil will be so heavy.
So this is something you need to know.
Yes, because it does make a difference. It keeps your planters from being too heavy. And,
Okay.
and also they do different ones. They'll include things that help hold the moisture, and they have fertilizer, slow release, things like that. But the
So
main thing,
this is just potting soil
This
that you
is
can
potting
buy
soil,
any place,
yes.
right?
this happens to be organic.
Uh-oh.
And if you can see, it just happens to be. But see, it's kind of clumpy, where a lot of potting soil doesn't clump like that.
Is that
But I
good?
believe, yeah,
That's what you want.
it's
huh?
good, sure.
Okay. Okay.
It just clumps because I believe it has more moisture, it seems. Because if I wanted to take off my gloves and play in it, then it's wetter.
My goodness.
So today we are planting. This is a heuchera. This is a perennial, which means that you can grow it in your garden year-round. It does great in pots. That's one of the reasons I chose it for today. It comes in many varieties. There's one that's where the back of this is purple and the front is sort of gray. There's one that's just pure purple that is beautiful. Green. Some have pinks in it, some, so a great variety.
That's pretty.
So we're going to take this little baby and we're going to pop him in. And as always,
There it is.
when you buy plants, kind of look at the bottom, and I should have talked about it before I took him out, but you can see the roots.
That's good. huh?
That's good, but sometimes you buy and they'll be in a circle on the bottom. Well, that's not too bad because that's what they're growing. But if you look, here the roots you can see are growing up. If they're root bound, that means the roots are going around and around and around, then the roots aren't going to go down into the soil to seek nutrition because they're so here, they don't know how to go down. So this one looks really good, and it's also, with not having so many roots, it's a sign it hasn't been potted for years. I'm going to put this little baby kind of right there at the front.
What else do you need? One
Now
of
I
those?
have pansies.
Oh,
I'll set
I
that
love
one
that.
here.
Look at that. Isn't that?
And I just chose purple today because I thought they would look really pretty with this, and we're going to make more mess. This table looks, now, if you,
You are messy.
that's how I am. If you look at the bottom
at
of
that.
this pack, and most of the time pansies, a lot of, especially annuals, which pansy is, which means they live one season. The roots will be at the bottom, but these are soft. See how easily they pulled off? And you can just kind of pop it, pinch it a little bit. And of course, this one isn't going to, but
There
there
it
it
is.
goes. And see, it looks healthy. It doesn't have a lot of roots sticking there. So we've made a little hole. We're just going to kind of put him in there. Let's take this one out, and then I'll get rid of this. Whoop, it's not there anymore. I would have made a mess when I threw it on the floor.
Okay.
Now we're going to put him here.
Now this would bloom and stay
Yes,
all during the
all
fall.
through the fall and winter.
And winter as well.
And if it's happy, and they're hard to, it's difficult to make them not happy, then it will bloom all the way through until the hotter weather comes in May and June.
That's so pretty.
And then they'll start to fail because they don't tolerate the hot weather. Most people pull them out when they're ready to begin their spring, summer planting around the middle of April. So people just go ahead and pull
that's
them out.
lovely.
Now, when I have been with you sometimes before, Peggy, I have talked about the fact that in a container, we kind of have this rule of thumb that you have something that goes up, which is upright, and something that spills over the front, and something in the middle that fills that in. And you can, like the tall can be a thriller, that it's really attractive foliage or attractive in like blooming or something, or your middle can be the one that's kind of the thriller, or even your spiller. We're not going to go by that today because there aren't many upright winter plants, things, annuals that will grow in the winter. And you can use an upright perennial, but for this one we're just doing a low container.
That's lovely.
But I'm going to show you a way that people can kind of put a little bit of non-plant thriller in it. So we're going to tuck this one. I sort of moved this around. We're going to tuck this one right here.
Now what
Now,
else do you need?
This is Dusty Miller. It is also an annual, but in our area, and you can't predict I haven't been able to, by saying, oh, if I don't have a really cold winter, or if we don't have so many deep freeze nights, that kind of thing. I never can tell when it's going to decide to live, but I have had it that it would live 2 or 3 years.
Oh,
And
look at that.
in the
That's very
spring,
pretty.
it might start to get a little leggy looking. You can kind of clip it back some,
Okay.
and it'll put out again. So we're going to just kind of put these in the center. And this is just something to, I had
Well, it adds
something
a
for
little,
the summertime in this container, and it's just a way to have something else in this container for
And you
winter.
could leave this on the porch or outside
yes,
or what?
as long as it gets it can be outside, but it can be like in a protected area on a porch or something.
Yeah.
You just have to be certain that you keep it watered well, and that it is where it does get adequate sunlight.
Okay.
Now, we're going to pull these out of here, and while
You still have room for more?
yes.
Oh,
And that's the thing. Sometimes when you do a container, especially if it's a larger one, you can actually take your plants in the pot and set it inside to determine how you're going to arrange them. Now this is a smaller container, so it would be difficult to do that because the pots, and especially since these are in these little boxes, they would take up too much space.
oh, that's going to be lovely. Yeah.
Well, I think it'll be pretty. And it'll bloom. Pansies, it helps them if you deadhead them, which just means that as the blooms are spent, Most people don't come join you and make such a mess, Peggy.
She is very
Only
messy.
Donna. Every time I come, I make a big mess. I'm sure the other master gardeners that join you don't make this mess.
Well, we're delighted to
But-
have you.
But,
Now,
you
here,
know,
you want
with
that?
me, you get a little
You
bit of
want all of
excitement.
them?
I do.
Okay.
Going to pop this one right there. And then we're going to move
they're moist.
this
You
around.
kept them moist.
They are, that's right. And that is one thing. I had already done it so that they wouldn't be dripping all over the place. But you should always water
pretty.
your plants you're going to plant before you plant them, whether, excuse me, it's in the ground or in a container. So now then, they're all snugly in there, and then you take more potting soil and you add to it.
A little more on top.
Yes, and you would water it until it's saturated all the way through.
Okay.
And then add a little bit more soil because it will settle with the watering. Now, as I said, it's pretty, but it doesn't have anything, kind of a little bit of pizzazz. So we're going to try to give it some pizzazz. And I'm going to reach right here.
Oh my goodness,
I'm just,
what is
short
that?
stuff is just going to have to reach. Okay, I brought some different things for different ideas. This is plant material, it's just not alive. Okay, you could just take a stick.
You mean that's going to add pizzazz?
Sure. If you walked up, isn't that the first thing you'd notice? Is there's a stick and it would draw your eye to the planter. See there? It would, don't doubt me.
I won't doubt the expert.
Oh, she's not an expert, believe me. But it does help. Now, these are really too long, but I'm not going to break them down. This is just one look of just part of a tree. This is willow, and if you look closely, you can see the catkins that bloomed out in the spring. This is was cut last spring, and even after it was cut, it was in the house, and it was warm, so the catkins bloomed out, and they stayed. They won't die back or anything. Like I said, this is way too long, but you can take this and see, this is really pretty. This is called a fantail willow, and as it ages, and you can tell right there. Peggy, you want to reach up and just touch the side, touch that right there. Okay, see how flat it is compared to right here, how round it is? That's why it's called a fantail, because it flattens out like your hand, and then it does all this kind of really interesting things in your garden. If you cut that off about 3 inches and pushed it down, then it would give good interest. This is a different kind of willow, but again, you can see that the catkins came out. But you can put those in there just to give a little interest with it. You know, you might prefer to put it in the center. Whatever you want to do with it. If you don't want a stick in yours, you don't have to have a stick in yours, Peggy. Okay. I put a stick in mine. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, one last thing.
Now that would be on a porch, an entrance to your house.
That's right.
You could put it any place.
Anywhere, where you'd like to in your garden.
Okay.
So,
Okay, that's lovely.
everybody has noticed. Do I have another moment to talk about this?
we have to go to a break, but-
Okay,
okay.
and then I'll
All right, we'll go to a quick break and come right back, so stay with us.